There are roughly 10,000 bird species on Earth. Scientists estimate we've properly studied fewer than half of them. The 30 birds on this list represent the extreme end of that gap. Species so rare, so remote, or so recently rediscovered that most people will go their entire lives without ever seeing one. One was photographed alive after being presumed extinct for over 100 years. One moonwalks. One has a beak longer than its own body. One was declared officially extinct, then found again, on a lake no one was watching. We're not counting down the prettiest birds, or the biggest, or the most famous. We're counting down the ones that exist at the very edge, the ones that almost weren't here at all. Here are 30 birds so rare, you'll almost certainly never see them in your lifetime. Number 30. The night parrot. This bird went missing for over 100 years. No sightings, no recordings, no photographs. Scientists, conservationists, and birdwatchers spent decades searching and came back empty. The night parrot was presumed extinct, a species quietly erased from the world without anyone watching. Then, in 2013, a naturalist named John Young walked into the remote Queensland desert and photographed one. The night parrot, Petsoparus occidentalis, was alive. Fewer than 250 individuals are estimated to exist. Their exact locations are deliberately withheld, kept secret to protect them from collectors and curiosity seekers who would do more harm than good. It hides in spinifex grasslands, moves only at night, and nests in dense vegetation close to the ground. Even with modern tracking tools, it remains one of the most difficult birds on Earth to observe. A ghost that turned out to be real and intends to stay hidden. Number 29. The resplendent trogon. High in the cloud forests of Costa Rica and Panama, where mist clings to moss-covered trees and sunlight barely reaches the forest floor, lives a bird that almost no one ever sees. The resplendent trogon, Trogon caligatus, does not chase. It does not race. It moves in complete silence, perched in shadow, often invisible until a shift in the canopy lets a single beam of light fall directly on its feathers. In that moment, turquoise and metallic green explode out of the gray, and then it's gone again. It nests inside tree cavities and abandoned termite mounds, a behavior that shields its eggs from predators far more effectively than open nests ever could. When paired with its ability to remain motionless for long stretches, the resplendent trogon becomes practically invisible to everything, including the people trying to find it. Its survival is directly tied to intact cloud forest. As deforestation pushes higher into the mountains, the narrow band of habitat this bird requires grows thinner every year. Patience built it. Patience may not be enough to save it. Number 28. The Gouldian finch. In the arid landscapes of northern Australia, where the ground bakes red and the air shimmers with heat, there is a bird that looks like it was placed there by mistake. The Gouldian finch, Erythrura gouldiae, is one of the most vividly colored birds on Earth, and its colors are entirely genetic. Every individual is born into one of 3 head color variants: red, black, or yellow. Pair that with a purple chest, neon yellow belly, and vivid green back, and no 2 birds look quite the same. Thousands exist in aviaries across the world. In the wild, fewer than 2,500 remain across 3 remote regions of northern Australia, and that number is fragile. Illegal trapping, altered fire patterns, and the disappearance of native grasses collapsed wild populations in the 20th century. At the lowest point, only a few thousand survived anywhere outside captivity. Careful conservation and breeding programs have stabilized numbers, but stability is not recovery. Fast, agile, and intensely social, the Gouldian finch travels in small flocks and feeds primarily on grass seeds. Seeing one in the wild today requires reaching places most people never go, and even then, luck matters. Number 27. The thick-billed raven. Most birds on this list are rare because of beauty. This one is here because of intelligence. The thick-billed raven, Corvus crassirostris, is the largest raven species on Earth, and one of the most cognitively advanced animals ever studied. It uses tools. It solves multi-step problems. It remembers food hiding locations for months. It recognizes individual human faces. And unlike most animals, it can plan ahead, mentally projecting a future need and acting on it now. It is found nowhere else on Earth except Ethiopia, where herders have long called it the one who sees before the storm. They believe it reacts to changes in weather before any physical sign appears, and observations suggest they may be right. Under direct sunlight, its black feathers carry deep blue tones. The appearance is striking, but secondary. What makes the thick-billed raven extraordinary is not visible at all. It's the quiet awareness behind those eyes and the patience it applies to every problem it encounters. Number 26. Wilson's bird of paradise. Before the female arrives, the male prepares the stage. Leaf by leaf, he clears a section of the forest floor. Every scrap of debris removed, every twig relocated. The performance space must be perfect before the performance can begin. Wilson's bird of paradise, Cicinurus respublica, carries bare turquoise skin on its crown, framed by a yellow mantle, a crimson back, and two violet spiral tail feathers that curve like living ribbons. When the female appears, the dance begins. Sharp hops, controlled spins, wing vibrations timed to hold her attention. Every movement is deliberate. Nothing is improvised. This species exists on just two small islands in Indonesia, Waigeo and Batanta, covering barely 1,500 square kilometers combined. Indonesian research permits for these islands are rarely granted. The interior forest where these birds live is dense, difficult, and largely uncharted. Even researchers who dedicate months to the search sometimes leave without a confirmed sighting. Nature spent an extraordinary amount of effort designing this bird. It spent an equal amount of effort hiding it. Number 25. The channel-billed toucan. While its relatives compete for attention with neon colors, this toucan relies on restraint. Dark wings, pale chest, a long bill traced with subtle yellow. The channel-billed toucan, Ramphastos vitilinus, carries a quieter kind of beauty, deliberate, refined, and easy to underestimate. That oversized bill is not decoration. It is one of the most efficient biological structures in the bird world. Lightweight despite its size, capable of regulating body temperature, and long enough to reach fruit buried deep in canopy that no other species can access. When it swallows fruit whole and drops seeds kilometers away, it performs a function that keeps entire sections of forest alive. Its movements are controlled and its calls are soft, instantly recognizable to experienced observers but easy to miss in a busy canopy. Because of its calm behavior and distinctive appearance, it has become a target for the illegal exotic bird trade, though capturing one is a serious offense across most of its range. The channel-billed toucan is proof that elegance does not require spectacle, and that quiet beauty is often the most difficult to protect. Number 24. The Guianan cock of the rock. It looks less like a bird and more like a burst of fire carved into feathers. The Guianan cock of the rock, rupicola, is impossible to ignore. Intense orange plumage, dark wings, a perfectly rounded crest that covers the beak almost entirely, giving the bird a surreal, sculpted appearance that looks designed rather than evolved. During mating season, males gather at traditional display sites called leks, some used continuously for decades, and leap, spin, bow, and call in unison. The females watch in silence and choose the most precise performer. The displays are explosive, noisy, and timed with mechanical accuracy. Despite that brilliance, this bird lives mostly in shadow. It nests on damp cliff faces and rocky cave walls, far from open ground. Finding a lek without a local guide is nearly impossible. They sit deep in roadless Guiana rainforest, and their locations are closely guarded by communities who understand what they're worth. For many indigenous Amazonian peoples, the cock of the rock is not merely a bird. It is a symbol of power and spirit, the living heartbeat of the forest itself. Number 23. The sword-billed hummingbird. There is no other bird on Earth with a beak longer than its body. Not close, not comparable. The sword-billed hummingbird, Encifera, holds this distinction alone. This extreme anatomy evolved for one specific purpose: to reach nectar hidden deep inside long tubular Andean flowers that no other species can access. The bird and the flower shaped each other over millions of years. Without the hummingbird, those flowers cannot be pollinated. Without those flowers, the hummingbird cannot feed. Evolution locked them together, each one dependent on the continued existence of the other. When perched, the sword-billed hummingbird must tilt its head backward to balance the weight of its bill, often resting it against a branch. In flight, it compensates with wing beats of extraordinary speed and precision, hovering, darting, maneuvering through dense Andean cloud forest with complete control. Found only at high elevation in the Andes, it cannot be kept in captivity and cannot be bred. It represents something rare in nature: a form pushed to its absolute physical limit, sustained entirely by the fragile relationship between one bird and a handful of flowers. Number 22. The Philippine eagle. Often called the strongest eagle on Earth, and not simply because of its wingspan. The Philippine eagle carries massive talons, a deep hooked beak, and a crown of long feathers that gives it a distinctly lion-like profile. It hunts monkeys, flying lemurs, large snakes, and birds of significant size, relying on stealth and patience rather than raw speed. A single adult can hold territory over dozens of square kilometers of untouched forest. It mates for life and raises only one chick every 2 years. Each breeding pair requires up to 100 square kilometers of intact forest to survive. With approximately 800 individuals remaining in the wild, and that forest disappearing to logging and agriculture, the math is unforgiving. Even scientists who track confirmed nest sites rarely succeed in observing one directly. The Philippine eagle is not elusive by accident. It is simply a species built for a world that is running out of space for it. Number 21. The scarlet ibis. That red is not a birthright. It is earned, meal by meal. The scarlet ibis owes its color entirely to diet. Crabs, shrimp, and crustaceans rich in carotenoids, the same pigments found in carrots and autumn leaves, are metabolized directly into feather color. Healthy wetlands produce birds that glow deep crimson. Degraded ecosystems produce birds that fade to pale orange or washed-out pink. This makes the scarlet ibis more than visually striking. It is a living, breathing indicator of ecosystem health. Its color tells you whether the habitat is functioning. A scientist watching a flock of scarlet ibises doesn't just see beauty, they see data. At dusk, hundreds return to roost together, a wave of red wings crossing a darkening sky, filling the air above the mangroves with sound and color. It is one of the most striking natural spectacles in the Americas. The species was once heavily hunted for its feathers. Today, it is protected, though the wetlands it depends on continue to shrink. If you've made it this far and any of these birds surprised you, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps more people find this video, and these birds deserve to be seen. We've still got 20 more to go, and it only gets rarer from here. Number 20. The regent honeyeater. This bird is losing its voice, not metaphorically, literally. The regent honeyeater was once common across eastern Australia, known for complex songs passed from older birds to younger ones across generations. Habitat loss has fragmented its population so severely that young birds now grow up in isolation, without older adults to learn from. A 2021 study documented that up to 12% of males now sing incorrectly, or produce no recognizable song at all, a cultural collapse happening in real time, in a species already down to a few hundred individuals. It feeds on nectar from eucalyptus and mistletoe, and is entirely dependent on healthy woodland. As old trees disappear, so do the food sources, the nesting sites, and the social groups that once carried its songs forward. Conservationists are now running captive song tutoring programs, playing recordings of correct calls to birds before they are released back into the wild, attempting to restore something that should never have needed restoring. Number 19. The shoebill. This bird looks like it walked out of the Cretaceous and nobody told it to leave. The shoebill, Baleniceps rex, is built around its bill, massive, shoe-shaped, and powerful enough to crush lungfish, turtles, and small crocodiles. It hunts alone, completely motionless, standing in shallow water for extended periods, and waiting for prey to surface. When it strikes, the movement is sudden and devastating. Between 3,500 and 5,300 individuals remain, scattered across isolated wetlands in East and Central Africa. Each bird occupies up to 3 square kilometers of undisturbed swamp. It breeds slowly, raising just one chick at a time, and is acutely sensitive to any disturbance of its habitat. Expert guides working in known shoebill territory report confirmed sighting rates below 60%, even when they know exactly where to look. Wetland drainage and the illegal wildlife trade have pushed the species toward vulnerability. Encountering a shoebill in the wild is less like bird watching and more like stepping back 66 million years into a world that still runs on ancient rules. Number 18. The spinifex pigeon. In the red rock deserts of Australia, where heat distorts the horizon and the ground offers almost nothing, this bird blends in perfectly until it turns its head. The spinifex pigeon is instantly identifiable by the tall, narrow crest rising from its crown like a feathered spear, giving it an appearance far closer to a desert quail than any pigeon. Its sandy plumage reflects sunlight rather than absorbing it, a passive cooling adaptation that makes survival possible in temperatures that would end most birds. It almost never strays far from water, appearing in pairs or small groups near rocky outcrops and desert waterholes, quick and alert, never still for long. For Aboriginal Australians, the spinifex pigeon has long served as a reliable natural indicator of nearby water, one of the most important signals a person could read in some of the harshest terrain on the continent. Resilient, fast, and perfectly matched to a landscape most creatures avoid entirely. It thrives exactly where survival is supposed to be impossible. Number 17. The golden parakeet. Brilliant yellow feathers edged in green. Native to the eastern Amazon basin, its colors mirror the Brazilian national flag, which is exactly why it became one of the country's most aggressively protected species. The golden parakeet is highly social, moving in noisy flocks through the canopy in search of fruit, seeds, and blossoms. Its national symbolism made it deeply valued in Brazilian culture, and made it equally valuable to illegal wildlife traffickers. For decades, poaching and deforestation pushed it toward collapse. At one point, wild populations had declined dramatically from historic levels. Today, strict protection laws, habitat preservation programs, and licensed breeding have helped stabilize numbers. Between 3,000 and 10,000 individuals remain, scattered across remote Amazon forest that is shrinking steadily. Wild encounters are becoming rarer every year, not because the bird is hard to find when the forest is intact, but because the intact forest is running out. Number 16. The rainbow lorikeet. It looks painted. The rainbow lorikeet, Trichoglossus mollicanus, carries red, blue, green, and violet simultaneously, not seasonally, not in patches, but all at once, in every individual, always. It is one of the few birds where the question, "What color is it?" has no simple answer. It doesn't eat seeds. It feeds on nectar and pollen using a specialized brush-tipped tongue, making it an important pollinator for hundreds of flowering tree species across its range. That ecological role is as significant as its appearance, even if far less photographed. Rainbow lorikeets are fast, intensely social, and loud. They travel in flocks that fill the air with sound and movement. Intelligent enough to recognize human faces and solve novel problems, they have a personality that matches their appearance. Common in captivity, but in the wild, when sunlight catches a flock mid-flight, the experience is something no aviary ever replicates. Number 15. The Nicobar pigeon. At first glance, it barely resembles a pigeon at all. The Nicobar pigeon shimmers with metallic feathers in shades of emerald green, copper, and deep blue. Long neck hackles catch the light like polished armor, giving it an appearance more consistent with a bird of paradise than any bird in the pigeon family. It is found only on remote islands across Southeast Asia, including the Nicobar and Andaman Islands, where it spends its days moving inland to feed on fallen fruit and seeds, then gathering in flocks along the shore at night. Its island-based lifestyle and strong, heavy body offer a rare window into how birds evolved in isolation, which matters because genetic analysis confirmed in 2002 that the Nicobar pigeon is the closest living relative of the extinct dodo. That connection has made it scientifically significant and practically endangered in the same breath. Illegal hunting and habitat destruction now threaten populations across its range. The closest living link to the dodo is itself moving closer to the same fate. We're halfway through, and the top 14 are where things get really extraordinary. If you're not subscribed yet, now's a good time. We cover wildlife, nature, and stories like this regularly, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Number 14. The black swan. For centuries, Europeans used black swan as a phrase to describe something impossible. The assumption was simple: all swans are white. It was self-evident, undeniable, a fact. Then explorers reached Australia. The black swan, Cygnus atratus, has deep black plumage, a bright red bill, and a calm, deliberate presence on the water that makes it immediately striking. When it spreads its wings, hidden white flight feathers flash into view, a sudden contrast that nobody who sees it for the first time expects. Black swans mate for life, share nesting duties equally, and are strong enough flyers to undertake long migrations during drought. They are highly social and often gather in large flocks. The species is now a national symbol of Western Australia, not only for its appearance, but for what its existence proved. That certainty built on incomplete observation is not certainty at all. Nature does not adjust itself to match human assumptions. Number 13. The kagu. It is the last of its kind, literally. The kagu is the sole surviving member of an ancient bird lineage. No close relatives, no similar species anywhere on Earth. Just this one pale gray crest-crowned bird, found only on the island of New Caledonia, moving silently through the forest floor on powerful legs, feeding on insects, snails, and small lizards. It cannot fly. When threatened, it spreads its wings to reveal bold black and white stripes in a sudden display designed to startle and confuse predators. Mating pairs sing loud duets together, calls that echo through valleys and carry across wide distances, to defend territory and maintain their bond. Almost no other bird on Earth communicates this way. For centuries, the kagu thrived with no natural predators. Human arrival brought cats, dogs, and rats. Population numbers collapsed. At one point, fewer than a few hundred remained. Strict conservation efforts have stabilized some populations, but the species remains endangered. It is now a national symbol of New Caledonia, representing both the island's remarkable biological uniqueness and how quickly that uniqueness can be undone. Number 12. The white raven. It looks like it shouldn't exist. The white raven is not a separate species. It is a raven, a standard Corvus corax, carrying a rare genetic condition called leucism, which removes pigment from the feathers while leaving the eyes and beak dark. The result is a bird shaped like a raven, behaving like a raven, but entirely white. It occurs in approximately 1 in 30,000 individuals. Most white ravens do not survive to adulthood. Without natural camouflage, they are easy targets. Fewer than 50 are estimated to exist worldwide at any given time, and that number fluctuates constantly. Most confirmed sightings come from Alaska and parts of Western Canada, where raven populations are large enough that the probability of mutation is marginally higher. The white raven cannot be bred intentionally. It has never been part of legal trade. For many indigenous cultures of the Pacific Northwest, its appearance is not treated as a curiosity. It is a signal, a messenger, a sign that something is about to change. Whether or not that interpretation is literal, the appearance of a white raven in the wild remains one of the rarest things a person can witness. Number 11. The mandarin duck. It looks like it was designed rather than evolved. The male mandarin duck, X. galericulata, carries a bold green and purple head, a white chest, and distinctive orange fan-shaped feathers that rise from its wings like sculpted sails. The female is more subdued, soft gray tones and a delicate white eye ring, but carries her own precise elegance. Most people who encounter mandarin ducks are seeing escaped captive birds. Truly wild populations live in remote forest streams in Russia, China, and Japan, areas that very few birders ever reach. The distinction matters, because wild birds and captive birds represent entirely different ecological realities. Mandarin ducks form strong pair bonds, often returning to the same partner across multiple seasons. They nest in tree cavities rather than on the ground, and ducklings leap from the nest hours after hatching, surviving the fall due to their light weight and the elasticity of young bones. In Chinese and Japanese culture, they have symbolized faithful love and lasting union for centuries. That reputation, it turns out, is reasonably well earned. Number 10. The Madagascar pochard. This bird was officially declared extinct. Not endangered, not critically threatened, extinct. The Madagascar pochard is a medium-sized diving duck found nowhere on Earth except Madagascar. It preferred clear, deep volcanic lakes, a specialized habitat that made it highly sensitive to any change in water quality or ecology. Habitat destruction, introduced fish species, and human activity wiped out nearly every suitable lake. The species was last reliably seen in the 1990s and then disappeared entirely. Then, in 2006, a tiny population was found on a remote high-altitude lake. Fewer than 30 birds. It was, at that moment, among the rarest animals alive. What followed became one of conservation's most carefully managed recoveries. Invasive fish removed, breeding areas protected. A captive program built around every individual egg, each one treated as irreplaceable. Slowly, numbers grew. The Madagascar pochard remains critically endangered today, but it exists, and for a species that carried the official designation of extinct, existence is everything. Number 9. The ivory-billed woodpecker. Is it extinct? Nobody knows for certain, and that ambiguity is part of what makes this bird unlike any other on this list. The ivory-billed woodpecker was once the largest woodpecker in North America, striking black and white plumage, an ivory-colored bill, and wing beats that carried through southern swamp forests. By the early 20th century, widespread commercial logging had destroyed most of its habitat. Hunting and collection removed the survivors. By the 1940s, it was widely declared gone. Then the reports began. Blurry photographs, disputed audio recordings, unconfirmed sightings from Arkansas, Louisiana, and Florida, some from trained ornithologists, not casual observers. Each one reignited scientific debate that has never fully settled. Some researchers believe a tiny remnant population may survive in remote, inaccessible wetlands, sustained by the vast dead timber following storms. What made the ivory-billed woodpecker ecologically irreplaceable was its specialization, feeding on beetle larvae in freshly dead trees, a niche that required enormous, undisturbed old-growth forests to function. Without those forests, there is no role for it to fill. Whether it persists or not, the habitat it needed is largely gone. Number 8. The red-capped manakin. It is 15 centimeters long and it moonwalks. The red-capped manakin delivers one of the most complex courtship performances in the entire bird world. The male is visually precise, jet black body, bright blue underparts, vivid red crown. But it is not appearance that determines his success. It is execution. During mating season, males gather on specific branches known as courts. There they perform rapid, perfectly timed sequences. Moonwalk-like backward slides, sudden hops, full spins, and wing snaps timed with mechanical accuracy. Females observe from a distance and select the male whose performance is most technically precise. Not the most elaborate, not the most colorful, but the most controlled. These dances are learned and refined over years of practice. Young males perform poorly. Experienced males perform with a fluency that is genuinely difficult to watch without anthropomorphizing. The red-capped manakin is one of the few species where coordination and timing function as direct determinants of reproductive success, making it, in the most literal sense, a bird where precision is survival. Number 7. The Victoria crowned pigeon. It is often described as the most majestic pigeon alive. The Victoria crowned pigeon, Gura victoria, is nearly the size of a turkey, the largest living pigeon species on Earth. Bright red eyes peer from beneath it, giving the bird an almost ceremonial appearance. It was named after Queen Victoria when European naturalists first documented it in the 19th century, and the comparison holds. It lives entirely on the forest floor of lowland Papua New Guinea, walking slowly through dense rainforest in search of fallen fruits and seeds. Its wings are powerful but used sparingly. Short flights into the canopy when a threat appears, then back to the ground. Between 2,500 and 10,000 individuals remain in forests accessible only by boat, followed by days of hiking through difficult terrain. Heavily hunted for its feathers for decades, captured extensively for the pet trade, now protected, but only as effective as the forests surrounding it. Its survival depends on those forests staying intact, and that is a condition that grows harder to guarantee every year. Number 6. The black-naped pheasant pigeon. This bird was last scientifically documented in the 1800s. For over 140 years, nothing. No confirmed sightings, no photographs, no recordings, widely assumed extinct. Then in November 2022, a team spent a full month on Ferguson Island in Papua New Guinea, running more than 20 camera traps across dense jungle terrain. They were guided by local hunters who recognized a call no researcher had heard in living memory. They got footage. The first confirmed images of the black-naped pheasant pigeon in 140 years. The discovery made international headlines. Scientists described it as finding a ghost that turned out to still be breathing. Unlike anything people associate with pigeons, this species is large, ground-dwelling, and shaped more like a pheasant. Strong legs, a long tail, and striking dark plumage marked by a black band across the neck. Almost nothing is known about its behavior, population size, or the specific threats it faces. That mystery is not a problem. It is the point. In an age when it seems like every corner of the natural world has been cataloged, the black-naped pheasant pigeon proved otherwise. Number 5. The Congo peacock. Western science did not know this bird existed until 1936. Feathers discovered in a local market in the Belgian Congo led researchers to its formal description, the last large bird species to be identified on the African continent. Before that, accounts from local communities had circulated for generations. They were dismissed as legend. They were not legend. The Congo peacock lives deep within the rainforests of the Congo Basin. Unlike its Indian relative, it forgoes the dramatic fan display in favor of a quieter elegance, metallic blues, greens, and bronze that shift and absorb light in the way the forest itself does. It lives on the floor, moves in monogamous pairs, feeds on fruit, seeds, and insects, and raises few young. Population recovery is inherently slow. Ongoing conflict across the Democratic Republic of Congo makes systematic surveys of its range nearly impossible. Researchers cannot safely reach most of its habitat, which means population data is sparse and largely outdated. Deforestation and hunting continue without adequate monitoring. The Congo peacock remained hidden from science for most of human history, and the conditions that kept it hidden are, paradoxically, now among the few things still protecting it. Number 4. The pink-headed fruit dove. It looks painted by someone who wasn't sure when to stop. The pink-headed fruit dove, Philippine porphyrius, presents a soft pink head that fades gradually into pale lilac along the neck, contrasting sharply with emerald green wings and a subtle golden band across the belly. The female is mostly green, but faint rosy tones remain visible. Even in its understated form, the coloration is unmistakable. This species inhabits the mist-covered mountain forests of Sumatra, Java, and Bali. Dense, high-altitude canopy that obscures it almost completely. It feeds quietly on small fruits and berries and rarely descends to visible perches. Even experienced birdwatchers familiar with its habitat may spend years without a confirmed encounter. Approximately 50 to 100 sightings are documented annually across Indonesia by dedicated observers, and most of those are brief. Among serious birding communities, the pink-headed fruit dove has become what they call a holy grail species. Not impossible to find, but difficult enough that finding one means everything aligned. The forest was intact, the timing was right, and the bird, for once, chose to be seen. Number 3. The many-colored fruit dove. It rivals the brightest parrots alive, and it is a pigeon. The many-colored fruit dove packs a purple crown, lavender chest, vivid green wings, and a golden-orange belly into one small body, a combination so intense that first-time observers routinely mistake it for a parrot in flight. Females are mostly green, a practical adaptation that keeps them concealed while nesting, while males advertise their presence with no apparent restraint. Found across Pacific islands including Samoa, Fiji, and Tonga, it inhabits coastal and lowland forests where it feeds on small fruits and berries. By dispersing seeds across distances that larger animals cannot reach, it plays a measurable role in the health of island ecosystems that would otherwise struggle to regenerate. Locals on several islands refer to it as the painted dove. In some cultures, a sighting carries the weight of good fortune. Given how rarely most people encounter one, even those actively looking, that association is not entirely without logic. Some birds earn their mythology. Number 2. The Jacobin pigeon. This one is not rare in population. It is rare in concept. The Jacobin pigeon was developed centuries ago in India through selective breeding, and it is recognized instantly by one feature, a dramatic hood of feathers that completely encircles the head. Thick, structured, and partially covering the face, it gives the bird the appearance of wearing a ceremonial cowl. The comparison to monks in traditional robes is so consistent that it appears in nearly every description of the breed. This hood is not cosmetic fluff. It grows dense and layered, affecting the bird's field of vision and altering how it moves and interacts. It is a trait with no adaptive value in the wild. It exists entirely because humans selected for it, generation after generation, over hundreds of years. Charles Darwin kept Jacobin pigeons while developing his work on variation and artificial selection. To him, they were not curiosities. They were evidence, living proof of how dramatically form could be redirected under sustained human guidance, independent of survival pressure. The Jacobin pigeon does not exist because nature required it. It exists because human intention decided it should. Number 1. The kakapo. Imagine a parrot so heavy it gave up on flight, so careful that it only moves after dark, so rare that every surviving individual has been given a name. The kakapo, Strigops habroptilus, is the world's only flightless nocturnal parrot. It evolved in New Zealand in the complete absence of mammalian predators. With nothing capable of chasing it from the ground, it had no reason to fly. Over millions of years, it grew heavy, developed powerful legs, and became surprisingly skilled at climbing trees, using its wings only for balance and short-controlled descents. Its moss-green feathers provide exceptional camouflage in the forest undergrowth. When threatened, its instinct is to freeze, to become indistinguishable from its surroundings. That strategy worked without fail for millions of years. Then humans arrived in New Zealand and introduced cats, rats, and stoats, and a bird that had never needed to flee was suddenly unable to escape anything. By the 1990s, fewer than 50 kakapo remained alive. The species was on the verge of being lost entirely. What followed was one of the most intensive wildlife recovery efforts ever undertaken. Every surviving bird was located, named, and moved to predator-free islands. Every breeding season is managed directly. Every egg is monitored. Hand-rearing, supplemental feeding, and carefully scheduled breeding interventions have slowly pushed numbers past 200. Some kakapo are believed to live more than 90 years. Males produce deep, resonant booming calls during mating season. Sounds that can travel several kilometers through the night. From bowl-shaped depressions they excavate in the ground to amplify the vibration. It is one of the most unusual mating displays of any bird alive. The kakapo is not the rarest bird on this list because it is the most beautiful or the most elusive. It is here because it represents something specific. The full weight of what it means to almost lose a species, and the extraordinary ongoing human effort required to pull one back. 200 birds, each with a name, each with a team, each with a story, held carefully at the edge of survival. 30 birds, rediscovered, endangered, extinct, then not. Named one by one, hidden for centuries, or surviving in a world that has run out of space for them. If any one of these made you stop and look twice, drop it in the comments. Which bird surprised you most? Like and subscribe if you want more, and share this one, because some of these species need more people to know they exist